All right, so tell me about this TV movie soup idea.
TV movie
It
soup.
looks like a combination of a bunch of books.
Well, so sort of, and you've actually thrown me for a loop. I really wish I knew now for sure whether they marketed Face Off as the TV movie or Changes as the TV movie, because Face Off at least has a through plot. Changes does not. And this is the
Well, actually, no,
well,
it does
the
because
school dance in Tobias's tuxedo is the closest thing we get to a through plot that actually runs through and unites all three episodes. So
no. The disc definitely does. The disc is present in all three episodes. Changes part one. He has it around his neck. They turned into a necklace, and he looks at it and has a flashback of Rachel putting the necklace on him in the mall.
Oh, okay, you're right. And that also tripped me out because it really looks like they filmed that scene on a moving sidewalk. It's a flashback. It's a flashback.
It's such a mess. It's so hard to tell.
Oh my god, yes. So it's a flashback to something that didn't happen because they need to retroactively establish that it happened. So they're in the mall. They like sepia toned it or make it yellow tinted, which I kind of wanted to talk about that. They do that for the Elemis too, and that's the only other time I believe in the series this happens.
No, they do another time.
Oh,
they do another time
third
too.
Yellow scene.
Yes, it's between friends when Rachel is showing Tobias the picture, and because audience would get too confused about like where did this picture come from, they have to do a quick flashback to her sister taking the picture and saying, "Say smile."
Well, that really ruins where I was going, but that was fun. But anyway, yeah, it's this yellow tinged scene. The background is moving laterally as it happens, which creates the impression that they filmed it on a moving sidewalk. Why? This is another one of those just that's bizarre attention to detail. Why? Anyway, what it looks like they did was go through like all of a real season 2's worth of episodes. We're like, okay, we're going to compress them down to 2 or possibly 3 scenes and just do them. So there's basically set up a problem, try to deal with the problem and suffer some kind of setback, and then have some kind of conclusion or payoff. Frequently, the conclusion is an accident. Like, for an example, where Jake and Rachel are trying to get a VHS tape out of a TV studio that's about to be live broadcast. They can't pull plugs, apparently. They don't have a morph. They don't have anything that could somehow render this equipment inoperable. But it's okay because there's a citywide power outage because of a spaceship that Axe built by hand. And so the payoff to Axe's storyline accidentally causes the payoff to the TV studio storyline.
Yeah, well, I love the fact that a power outage is what allows the eject mechanism to work. Like, now that there's no power, now you can get this machine to do this special function.
Right. Here I am thinking they're insulting our intelligence by thinking a major TV studio doesn't have any kind of a backup, just everything catastrophically fails. And no, you're right, it's much more obvious that, so when the power goes off, it makes the VHS player just hit eject, even though, oh god, it's a mess. So it starts off with one of the most unnecessary adaptations of all time. They do book 14. They're stealing the Andalite toilet mechanism, which in this universe is like the size of a microwave or something.
How is that a toilet? How?
Axe calls it, he says it's like a cooling coil or something. That's not what he calls it, but he makes it seem like it's part of a larger system.
An intracellular rehydration and cleansing system coil.
Which causes some TV coverage, but like that gets resolved halfway through the first episode. Jake morphing monkey and getting lost to the monkey instincts for almost a full 2 hours, with Cassie trying to somehow sabotage a cosmetic group that experiments on animals, except the scientists running the lab were also trying to sabotage the cosmetics group, and Cassie and Jake accomplished nothing. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a very loose adaptation of 28. You got something to...
They accomplished everything. They accomplished everything by doing that.
Well, they established that in this universe, Rachel has a bear morph, which would have been very helpful elsewhere, but I'm not even going to worry about that.
At least they got to it. Yeah, but no. Because they went to the well, not the rally, but to the January Rose opening, right? They caused a scene. But because the January Rose lady was about to get run over, Marco was able to push her aside before she could get hit, and then she loves animals afterwards, and then she decides not to do testing on animals again.
But Marco's only there to try to extricate Jake and Cassie because they happen to see it live on TV.
Yeah, so in effect, them being there is what allowed them to reach their goal.
It's very messy.
They got there.
This may be controversial. I think there's some inspiration from 33, The Illusion, where Tobias is tortured. What's going on effectively when Tobias is getting Elfangor's really personalized message with the group, which, I'm going to talk about that later on. That's like the closest you're a TV PG Animorphs universe where they have, large carnivore morphs that never maul anybody and they never kill anybody. That's like the closest you could get to that. The whole hidden camera thing that's about to air on live TV, that's a combination of the inciting events from book number 40, where there's an Andalite on Unsolved Mysteries trademark, and 42, where Marco is photographed changing, and that's what happens with the Harold Nesbitt storyline. I thought that was another anachronism where the TV show just, blindly throwing darts predicted another storyline. So I actually looked it up. Changes premiered in April 2000. The Journey came out in May 2000. So this may be a complete accident. I don't know if there was any kind of note exchange between like Scholastic and the Ghost Writers and the TV show at this time. It's so haphazard. I'm leaning towards that there wouldn't have been. It's just interesting that the slapdash haphazard Animorphs finale, one of the many plot threads, is the plot thread to the next book that came out.
There might have been an inside man on that one.
Yeah. And then just I noted there's inspiration possibly from 20 in that they have snake morphs out of nowhere. And now I'm actually really confused. I have a note on here from 5. Oh, I feel dumb. Axe going home. The whole thing out of nowhere where Axe tries to go home.
Yeah.
It makes more sense when Axe has just been introduced, but here they moved it to the very end of the series where he's already ingratiated himself and learned how to be a human and everything. But he's just going to go home. But he's also confident that if he gets back to the home world, he can show up again with the celery, which is his word for cavalry, the Andalite army.
Yeah.
Such an awkwardly delivered line, too. I kind of like to pretend that a lot of the more bizarre creative decisions could be explained by writers who are completely checked out and don't care, but like a really dedicated hyperliteral director who's not in on the joke. That was the idea, Soup. We have elements, possibly some accidental, but most of them not, from 7 different books going through this 3-parter finale, which then ends with low-budget Keanu Reeves showing up at a school dance, and Marco and Axe are dancing with each other, and 1,000 fan theories are born. And we get Tobias's only voiceover.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's run the numbers on this. So there were 20 episodes in season 1, right? Prior to the changes storyline, there were 3 episodes in season 2, right? And there are plots from 7 books that you have lined out. So if they had intended for each of these plots to be its own episode, that brings them halfway through season 2, which is probably where they were in the production of the scripts at the time they found out they were being canceled.
So, hey, speaking about things going away before their time, talk to me about the Tobias death conspiracy theories. This is another. I know a little bit about it, and again, it blew my mind because I would have never noticed this on my own.
Okay, so this is the most baffling scene in the whole series. I know everyone. So I think the Andalite lasso scene is beautiful, right? But I understand what they were doing.
They had to go out there and hire union workers with a skill set. I'm pretty sure, like real thought and dedication had to go into the Andalite lasso scene. You don't accidentally put that together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those same extras were also in background scenes later in the episode too. Like they put thought into that.
They gave them all days worth of work.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, that scene I would argue sometimes makes sense. The one that was the most baffling for me as a kid, and I've thought about for the past 20 years, is the scene in season 1, episode 7, The Escape, where Tobias flat out dies. Right? He doesn't almost die. He doesn't die and come back to life. No, he's just dead in that episode, and they never address it again.
You mentioned this in a voice chat, and I didn't believe you. I remembered vaguely what you were talking about, and I'm like, no, he was like near Drakenfire, and it stunned him or something. He didn't die. And then I went back and watched it. Not only does Shawn Ashmore like pick up and cradle a charred stuffed bird and go, oh, Tobias, but when it ends with Rachel's voiceover, it cuts to like it's a fade of Tobias flying. I thought that was like an indication that he was okay, but no, they run out of the Yerk pool without him. No, that's a tribute to him because he's dead.
Yep.
Like that's the only correct way to read that scene.
Yes, absolutely. And for context, whatever context there is in all this, season 1, episode A, the episode that airs right after it. That's right after in the order of production. There's a throwaway line of saying why the other actors aren't in the scene. So it's an adventure with Axe, Jake, and Marco, right? None of the other actors are there. They say it's like, okay, Cassie's doing this, Rachel's doing this, and Tobias is in a tree. That's the explanation
Tobias
they
lives
give.
in a tree.
He's just in a tree. Yeah. That's why he's not there. Okay. So I've been just mulling over, okay, how can I possibly make this fit in with the context of the series? And I have 3 different theories for why this could be.
This is going to be great.
Okay. So theory number 1, the plan was to have the Ellimist bring him back in a future episode with the power to morph again, and they just decided to drop the idea. Okay. Theory number 2, each episode of the show is a different alternate reality triggered by the time matrix, and the series got canceled before that got revealed. All right. And when I post this theory to the Reddit, there was someone who responded back with they really like theory number 2, except and I'll give credit here, the user is Tactical Crackers, and he says that he thinks the alternate realities are triggered anytime an Animorph dies because of having no way out, and that would violate the rules of engagement between the Ellimist and the Krayak. And so I like that idea too, because there are a couple instances of death in this series. So there was that. There was also an episode, can't remember which, but it was in an earlier episode where it looked like Rachel was going to die. Or it looked like she did die when she was in Flymorph, and then a hand just slaps on the table, and, a fly is dead.
That is on the run.
You're meant to assume that's Rachel.
That is on the run when she's staking out the sharing.
Okay. Yep. So that's early on. So you could say, okay, that was another triggering point in the timeline where the Ellimist went and reset it. So that's why Rachel is, perfectly fine in the next scene, because she never did get slapped as a fly.
I just watched that one last night, and it's so weird because the camera angle comes down, but the hand is cupped slightly, which gives a plausible reason for how she can actually miss it. Honestly, watching it last night, that's one of those examples where the acting is just so atrocious. But it occurred to me, kind of like some of the more bizarre Chapman scenes, this show had the perfect in to justify bad acting. As long as your core cast is okay, which, you know what, I'll give them like a B-. I think the actual Animorphs generally are pretty solid with their acting, and then Eugene Lipinski is just, living treasure. All of the controllers, it's okay if you cast really bad actors with unnatural timings and weird reactions because they're aliens. They had the perfect in, man.
I love the line, and we'll squash them like bugs. Slap.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm so glad there happened to be a bug here for me to make a dramatic point to the speech that I'm improvising in front of these other aliens.
Oh, that's perfect.
I also love the smash cut from the mall to the sharing with the world's most unengaged DJ. Watch that scene and realize he's supposed to be like...
When's that?
It's in the episode On the Run. Rachel and Cassie have agreed to go with Melissa to the sharing meeting to try to get information. Jake and Marco are doing their cat and mouse thing through the mall with the security guard and the lizard, and it just jump cuts from the mall to the sharing, but instead of doing like an establishing shot or something, it goes to the DJ table, and then it goes to a wider shot, and you see the DJ, doing his thing, and there's, kids standing around with solo cups. It's the world's most lethargic, unengaged DJ. It's hilarious.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why I got confused when you said that. Because there are 2 other instances in this show where there's an unenthusiastic DJ.
One of them's not my problem, right?
Yep, that's one of them.
Where's the other one?
The other one is in The Leader Part 2 when Marco is piloting the ship.
Oh my god. Dude, I have done 2 different satirical edits of that scene, and yet you still caught me off guard. That was, oh my god. I think I have to link to both of them.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I hope there was a DJ on set that was just like, oh, this is gonna look so cool, and he stuck it in every possible moment he could.
If anything, it's more like the opposite. It's like when you watch an old Elvis movie and Elvis gets the guitar and you could tell like he doesn't actually know how to play. No. They had DJ equipment and they got an extra who doesn't know how to do it. So I'll bet you any DJ who watches that just go, oh god.
Mm-hmm. All right. So going back to the Tobias death theories. Yeah. Okay. So this last theory is the one that I'm kind of sticking by, and I'm looking for more and more evidence for as I go through the series. And I'm going to say that Tobias staged his own death. Okay.
Right.
And evidence for this is that he screeches very loudly in the Yerk pool right before he gets shot. Now, he is the scout of this mission. It is a stealth mission before they start throwing their balloons filled with oatmeal. And
have you ever tried to fill a balloon with oatmeal? That's impressive.
Have you done it?
No.
I want to try it now.
Anyway,
might work.
That was an unnecessary digression.
So,
unlike everything else we've done, which has been super disciplined.
Absolutely. Okay, so he screeches really loudly. All right, and there is no tactical reason for him to do that because that gives away his position. Right? He's not being taken over by the instincts of a hawk. He's kind of mastered it by this point. He knows not to make a loud screeching sound, but he does anyways. I think that's because he wanted to get shot or he wanted that area to get shot. So he screeches, the blaster hits, and it looks like it might have hit the wall, right? You could say, oh, that's part of the production, right? You know, you have your explosive on the wall, and that's what causes the sparks. But you could say, no, the Draken beam, kind of hit the wall area, and this blast allowed Tobias to swap out himself. He brought along with him a stuffed bird, right? Because if you watch the scene very carefully, as Tobias is falling down the wall, it's not the same type of bird. It's not a Harris hawk. It's some other stuffed bird, and it's just kind of falling down.
You glossed over something very important, which I didn't even realize. In the show, canonically, Tobias is not a red-tailed hawk.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he is a Harris hawk. Yeah, I'll give credit to where it's due. I think the other Animorph podcasts, including Animorphs Anonymous, picked up on that pretty quickly. And I looked into it. I was like, oh yeah, that is. But right.
Isn't there a shot in one of the shows where like Marco was walking around with ostensibly Tobias, and it's not even a hawk; it's like a crow.
Yes, absolutely.
If you choose to read this as canon, the Animorphs are like, as an act of subterfuge or whatever, leaving stuffed birds like their calling card almost, right?
Absolutely. So there was the stuffed bird that Marco was carrying in The Stranger. Okay, so right before they got captured underneath the net by Visser 3, that bird is there. And I think that's meant to be like the decoy, because Tobias is still scouting out that mission, right? And they don't want to, give away that this red-tailed hawk Nothlet is still around, right? The Harris hawk Nothlet is still around. So that's why in the cave sequence, they kind of, by that point in the show, the Yerks realized this is definitely an Andalite. Anytime you see a Harris hawk, try to kill it. If they think they killed it in that episode, that gives them no reason to look for that Harris hawk again. All right, so that's the reason for doing it. And then other evidence to back that up is that in the episode prior to that, season 1, episode 6, The Message, they did a test run just to see how real it would look. So Tobias is up in a tree at the beginning of that episode, and then he's not in the tree anymore and is replaced with a hawk. With a stuffed hawk.
Yes, the Tobias dive bomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, there's another test in that episode as well, because a stuffed skunk jumps into Marco's arms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, watch that scene, man.
That fall. That is a beautiful fall. And I've looked at all the falls in order.
There's another one.
Oh yeah, it's a running theme in the show. Yeah.
People falling over.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. I want to re-upload that video with like yakety sax playing in the background.
Oh boy. So that reminds me, I've got to like try to find a cover of this that I can get away with, because that actually reminds me. The Not My Problem episode, the Jake and Tobias stare down. It's supposed to be a tense scene. It just read to me as so accidentally erotic. I rescored that scene with "Let's Get It On" by Marvin Gaye. Unfortunately, it got stricken.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's other music. There's like "Careless Whisper" and stuff that reads the same way, but no, it's got to be "Let's Get It On." So I've got to find like a Sounds Like band or something and redo that video.